Rogers, 1959, explains the development of self, the need for positive regard, the need for self-regard, the development of conditions of worth, the need for positive regard. As the awareness of self emerges, the individual develops a need for positive regard. This need is universal in human beings and in the individual, is pervasive and persistent. It is associated with a very wide range of the individual's experiences. It is reciprocal in that when an individual discriminates him or herself as satisfying another's need for positive regard, he or she necessarily experiences satisfaction of his or her own need for positive regard. Hence, it is rewarding both to satisfy this need in another and to experience the satisfaction of one's own need by another. The need for self-regard grows out independently of positive regard transaction with others. Need for self-regard develops as a learnt need. For example, he or she knows what behaviors are liked and approved of and what isn't. Positive regard from others or not assimilated and forms basis for the way he or she views themselves. So an exercise you can do, and perhaps you can do it later, and have to do it right away, is to create a picture that shows the process of development from the need for positive regard to self-regard. So just take a few minutes in your own time to create a picture that demonstrates the process of development from the need for positive regard to self-regard. Conditions of worth. When self-experiences of the individual are discriminated by significant others as being more or less worthy of positive regard, then self-regard becomes similarly selective. When a self-experience is avoided or sought solely because it is less or more worthy of self-regard, the individual is said to have acquired a condition of worth. Behaviour. This means that some behaviours are regarded positively, which are not actually experienced organismically as satisfying. Other behaviours are regarded negatively, which are not actually experienced as unsatisfying. It is when he or she behaves in accordance with those intrinsic values that he or she may be said to have acquired conditions of worth. He or she cannot regard themselves positively as having worth unless he or she lives in terms of those conditions. Reflection. Reflect on a time where you know you behave to maintain conditions of worth and self-regard. And take a moment to think about it. You can't think of anything now, in your own time. And then, having reflected on a time where you know you behave to maintain conditions of worth and self-regard, think about what the impact on you of doing this was. What did it feel like? What was the impact on you of doing this? And add to your pictures the impact of conditions of worth and self-regard. So you can also draw and reflect and think of a time, the impact of conditions of worth on self-regard. So you can write down what it felt like or what you think the impact of conditions of worth on self-regard, and also you can draw a picture to demonstrate this too. According to Rogers 1951, the best vantage point for understanding behaviour is from the internal frame of reference of the person. Rogers 59, the individual possesses the capacity to experience in awareness the factors of his or her psychological maladjustment, namely the incongruences between him or self-concept and the totality of his or her experience. If these conditions exist, then the subsequent events, therapeutic change, called neurology will occur. I want to reflect on a moment. Why do you think, or why the core conditions bring about change? Why do you think core conditions bring about change? And reflect on the connection between positive regard and self-regard. Reflect the importance of positive regard in the therapeutic process and evaluate applications in practice of theory. If the person bases self-regard on the positive regard from others, then they will tend to behave in ways that are not organismically satisfying. When we apply this to our behavior and interactions with each other, what insights does it give us? And have a moment to think about that.